professional serving community. talkradio.nyc.
Just like that. Just like that, another week has gone by. It is Friday morning. It is Philanthropy and Focus. I just made the trek up from the kitchen. Shout out to the kitchen where I get my coffee. 2 flights up from the kitchen, just below the roof of my house. I'm in the attic, baby, in the attic. Last week, we celebrated 200 episodes, right? So that means if we do the math right, let me do the math. Today's 201. 201 episodes of something that was just an idea. I encourage you to try out those ideas. Do the thing you want to do. Talk about that. I mean, my new friend, Leon Feingold. Well, we'll see in the next hour if he wants to be my friend after the show. But Leon Feingold is here, and I just was looking at his bio and talk about doing the thing, gang. If you want to do something, try it out. I talked about Philanthropy and Focus for 2 years. It had a logo, it had a name, and for 2 years it had 0 episodes because I was just out there talking about it. Now it's got 200 episodes. On a plan, I like to say going to 5,000. So we start that trip to 5,000 today. Today is 201 Philanthropy and Focus. Every week on the show, I bring to you another leader from another nonprofit organization to help them tell their story and amplify their message. And I am the nonprofit sector connector, and I can't do any of this without people connecting me and helping me add to the relationships I have. So shout out to Sam, the conscious consultant Leibowitz, who made this connection to Leon Feingold. Put us on an email, said you guys got to know each other. Sam is the executive producer here at talkradio.nyc and has his program, the Conscious Consultant Hour. So thank you, Sam. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for making this connection. Appreciate it. Leon Feingold, House of Good Deeds. Hello there. What's going on?
Hey, Tommy. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. Congratulations on 200 and hopefully 201 awesome episodes.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, let's see. You and I will have to work together and make it 201 awesome episodes for sure. Absolutely. Listen, man, you said to me, I've done a lot of things, Tommy. I've been involved in a lot of different things. I see. Is that a Cleveland Indians t-shirt you're rocking right there?
Sort of.
Oh, that's from the movie.
Major League. Yeah,
Major League.
when I first signed with the Cleveland, I was a minor leaguer with the Cleveland Indians, which you know, but people listening might not. I really felt walking into the clubhouse like, Rick Vaughn or Willie Mays Hayes. So I just happened to put it on today.
I love it. I'm glad you did. Did you grow up a baseball fan?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. I grew up playing soccer. I grew up playing everything but baseball. And I started collecting baseball cards. My mom had some leftover baseball cards, and I was looking at them like from the 50s and 60s. And I read somewhere in a book that you couldn't really understand baseball cards if you understood baseball. So I started looking into it. I first actually picked up a baseball when I was, I think, a freshman in high school, something super, super late. Sorry, no, it was I was in junior high, but it was super late. Like everyone else was playing sports. I played every sport but baseball, but I really had a knack for it, and obviously it went somewhere.
Yeah, no kidding. And Major League, what a movie that was, man. That's just, if you haven't seen that, gang, I don't where you been. Charlie Sheen was great in that. You had Bob Uecker, the great Bob Uecker, who just passed recently, was in that movie. What a cool movie. So did you grow up, are you from New York?
I grew up in Long Island, yeah.
Oh, you're from out here on the island. Oh, no kidding.
Still have still repping the 516.
All right. Those, if you know, as they say, gang. Back in the day, there was only one. There was only 516 until I guess it was too many of us out here and had to add in the 631 out in Suffolk. So I grew up in Franklin Square. Where do you hail from?
Oceanside, not too far.
Oh, same thing, not far at all. Very, very close. I hung out with a lot of guys from Oceanside. In fact, my aunt and uncle moved from Franklin Square down to Oceanside, and they were right on the canal.
Oh, wow, yeah. I wonder how many nights you hung out at 24-hour Bagel.
I can't tell you all those stories. That would be a different show, my friend. That would be a different show. You know where we went? There was a spot in Franklin Square called A&S Bagels, and I was a bartender, and I would close the bar. And it was this A&S Bagels, Hempstead Turnpike. They used to supply all the bagels to supermarkets and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So, but they were open 24 hours cooking, making bagels, and then they'd have like a deli place, or they did have a deli right there, so you can go. So I remember sometimes closing the bar and taking a taxi cab from the bar I used to work at in Franklin Square called Easy Street, and we would take, and I get BLT with Swiss cheese on an everything bagel. And it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, Leon, but the bagel was warm because they were always cooking, man. So
Hmm.
yeah, there was something about vitamin G, grease, that soaks up alcohol in a body. I've heard, so to speak, but I haven't
Yeah,
had.
growing up in Oceanside, in high school, I wouldn't know what alcohol was. That was actually
Yeah.
it's a joke, but to be honest, I was kind of a weird oddball kid, so I didn't really hang out with any of the cool kids. So I didn't go hang out at any of the awesome bars that were in Franklin Square. I know there's a pretty good bar scene there.
Yeah, it was cool there. Listen, I'm sober now 14 years, which most people listening to the show know, and I put that out there because I think it's important to realize, man, alcohol is not necessary to lead a pretty awesome life. In fact, it gets in the way to lead a pretty awesome life in a lot of ways for people. So that's a whole nother. Okay, public service announcement out of the way. So I really I have your bio here. It tells me about all the really cool things you've done, are doing. I want to hear about the House of Good Deeds. We'll talk about that story, but I like to just start off with like, who is my guest? What's their journey been like? Lawyer, real estate entrepreneur, as we talked about, an athlete, Mensa leader. Like, where do we start, man? Let's talk about your journey, and let's then eventually in the next, 15 minutes so we'll get into the House of Good Deeds and that story and the genesis of that organization and altruism and things like that. So, can you just tell me about you?
I mean, I'm just a guy, just like you're a guy, just like anyone's a guy. I do tend to be pretty varied with my interests. I despise boredom. I would much rather be double booked than bored. So, and I've also been lucky and privileged enough to have a brain that can keep up and a body that can do things. So if I can compete and win at something or get better at something or learn something, I always take the opportunity to do so. Um, I wouldn't know where to start either, and I'm the one living the life. So if you have any questions,
Yeah,
ask me.
I
Otherwise,
definitely do.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you grew up, you said you played other sports, and then let's talk about the baseball thing, right? You get into baseball, you said junior high. How far did you get? When did you know you could really get up into the bigs and actually make a run at it?
I mean, I was always a jock growing up. My mom was an athlete. Dad wasn't, but I took after my mom. Both my parents were awesome and supportive of all my sports. I played soccer growing up until I was in high school, and then I played like baseball and football and track and did all the things. Um, Baseball was always a passion of mine. I was really good at it. I was a pitcher, and I could throw the ball really, really hard, even as a little kid. So I guess in college is when I really kind of picked up. Like I played all 4 years on varsity, and I went to a D3 school, SUNY Albany,
Yeah,
which was
cool.
more well known for like being where all the Long Island kids went.
Yep.
Less well known for being a sports powerhouse. But I did get signed by the Cleveland Indians after that. I played a total of 6 seasons. I actually had shoulder surgery twice, unfortunately, which kind of cut my career short prematurely, which sucked. But I played two with Cleveland Indians system, two with the Atlantic League, and two overseas in Israel. I pitched for the Israel Baseball League for 2 years.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So that's cool. It's always a bummer with the injury, man. When the injury bug gets you, you know, I always say, everyone's career ends, right?
Mhm.
Might end after a 20-year career in the bigs, or, might end in high school, or even earlier than that. But the injury thing is something in a lot of cases that uh, sometimes just can't be controlled.
Yeah,
Even if you do the right conditioning and you're eating right and stuff like that, sometimes people just get injured. Yeah.
true. I think coming from a D3 school, I didn't really have like I just figured I could just not warm up, just get on the mound, throw 92 miles an hour, and be fine.
Yeah.
And for a while, it worked. Youth is wasted on the young. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not 21 anymore,
Cool.
not 41 anymore. But I still love sports. I just I'm glad that I had that experience. I was able to dominate up until a few years ago. I was still playing amateur ball, striking out kids half my age. It was awesome, of
That's pretty cool.
course. But time changes, our bodies evolve, and we got to go with it. You can't be that pissed off, high school jock who's now broken down at a bar drinking.
Right.
You got to get with the times. You got to accept your limitations and move on. And luckily, like I said, I've been privileged enough to have other things that my brain and my body, my thoughts can do. So I've moved on to, among other things, the House of Good Deeds.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into the House of Good Deeds shortly. So the thing I want to ask is Long Island kid, Oceanside, Mets or Yankees?
Mets.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you why. Hold on.
Tell me why.
Growing up, I always rooted for the underdog. And, I was born in 73, so I'm in my 50s. Growing up, like I loved the 86 team. But before that, like in the early 80s with like Joel Youngblood, before Darryl Strawberry, before Doc Gooden, there was like really awful Mets. There was like Lee Mazzilli and a bunch of stiffs. And the Yankees, of course, were doing really well. So all my friends, all the kids that I knew were Yankee fans. So I was like, screw that. Somebody's got to rep the Mets.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. And so I was born in 78. So I was younger in 86 than you were. So, what my business partner, very close friend, Ed Probst, I guess he was born, if I'm 70, I think he was born like 69. So he's like, you guys were more aware of it. I remember 86. I remember sitting in the kitchen in my parents' house in Franklin Square with a little TV on the kitchen table. We had, I think, a bigger TV, nothing like TVs today, but it was like we watched a little black and white. It was a TV you could like pick up and had a handle and you could like move it.
I remember those.
Remember those? Yes, exactly. Yeah, turn it. Unbelievable, but that's how we saw the games, man. That was just so cool. So we got to get out to a Met game. Then that means
I'm down.
Yeah. So, I'm just gonna call this one out because I'm aware of Mensa, but I don't know that everybody's aware of Mensa. Can you talk a little bit about Mensa? I mean, because you're the past president, right, of one of the Mensa organizations and stuff like that, or excuse me, president of Mensa Greater New York chapter, right?
Yeah, I was. So Mensa is the global high IQ society. There's 100,000 people all over the world. Obviously, millions would qualify. In order to be a member, you need to test in the top 2% of any accepted standardized exam. Could be an IQ test, could be LSATs, could be it could be anything really. And if you qualify, you get to join this organization. You can't just like buy your way in. That being said, the kind of people who would join an organization like that are pretty varied. Some people wanted to see if they could get in. Some people really identify as being brainiacs. Some people are the nerds in high school, but some people are like the dropouts in high school who were just bored. Like you get all kinds in Mensa. And that's one of the things I love about it. There's people from every walk of life, every political income, every background, every race, every whatever. And I really appreciate being able to just hang with these people. Like we don't try to solve the world's problems necessarily, but it's really nice just being in a room with people, no matter how obscure a comment or how random a conversation, there will be people much more likely to pick up what you're putting down. And that's something I've always appreciated, being, higher IQ, that everyone has something to offer, but I really appreciate being surrounded by people who have ideas rather than just want to talk about things or people.
Wow. So let's listen to that, gang, for a second. Like where people are talking ideas. I find in this time in history, it is the year 2025, and many people, and certainly at times myself, can be distracted by nonsensical things and these devices that are in front of us that are made, gang. In case you didn't know, check out the social dilemma if you want a little information about how these devices were set up to get us connected. But people, I always find it funny when people are talking about celebrity lives and things like that, and they're living their own existence, which is, it's a quick run at this thing, gang. I tell you, I got 50 years left. I'm 47. 50 is a stretch, maybe, right? The thing is, you got 80 total, 85, 90, maybe 100, until they download us into a computer system or something like that. And then I guess you could live forever. But the thing about it is, to live your life watching other people live their lives is not exactly what you should be doing. So you're saying like talking about ideas, not just talking about stuff, like people who are actually connecting on a different level. I want to hear more about that. Give me a little more about like ideas, because you say you're not solving the world's problems, but you can really, and I heard you say a line I use all the time, they're picking up what you're putting down. So it's a thing where it's not just shenanigans and surface level stuff. It's like you're actually being thoughtful about things. Talk to me about that.
I mean, to be fair, sometimes we just talk about stupid stuff. But the point is, we're with people that can pick up what we're putting down if we decide to get all esoteric. And to be honest, I think most people want to feel like they are making a difference, like they feel invested. And if their lives are kind of humdrum, it makes sense that people without any other outlets, without any knowledge of the power they have to make a difference, would live vicariously through people that they wish they were. And that's one of the reasons why, celebrity and celebrity fashion is so interesting to people. It doesn't mean anything. But then again, neither does, Pokemon Go, neither does Call of Duty. Like things that people are passionate about sometimes don't have any real impact in the real world, but they make people happy. It's instant gratification. It's why everyone's on their phones.
Yeah.
There are ways, and that's, I guess one of the reasons we're talking, there are ways in which you can get that kind of instant gratification feeling, but more durably, by actually making a difference with the things you do in the real world. Not to distract the conversation, but I get very frustrated when I see people who have the power to make a difference who don't think they have the power and they just do nothing with it. It's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. And I am going to say that I think part of it is set up that way because if most people think they can't be part of the problem and they can be consumed by Pokemon Go or dare I say paying attention to what the Kardashians do on that program, which I've never watched, but I'm aware of it. But like, if you just focus in on all that stuff, then you're kind of a zombie to actually using your personal power and changing the world and making the world a better place, which is not the people I hang out with. The people I hang out with run nonprofit organizations, do great work, do great deeds. We're going to talk about great deeds. We're going to talk about, though, or I'm going to tell you that the people that you can be with are people, if you choose to, that are changing the world and that are focused and take their personal power and use it to make the world a better place. Leon, I mean, right from your perspective, those are the people. Look, we make a choice every single day. Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be with? Who do you want to engage with? Right? Do you feel the same way that you'd much rather plug in with people who are not distracted by Madison Avenue or what's on TV and that sort of thing?
Yes, but
Mm.
I believe that the people I want to surround myself with are the people who kind of have already been enlightened to the point that they don't need to focus on the things and the people. They can really be more powerful. But the point is, everyone has that ability. Everyone can be a person who cares about the world, who makes a difference in their world, whether their world is literally a street corner where they live or, the world on a global scale. I'm no different from any one of those people. I just had the opportunity to do something and I took it. And anyone has that choice. Like you said, people wake up, they make a choice. The most vapid, boring person in the world can do something if they choose to.
It's choice, gang. It's all about choice. Lean in, make a choice. If you somehow found this program somewhere on the internet, whatever, you have the opportunity to seize the day and go after it. And just go, get it, man. Make it happen. And I promise you, if you do, you're going to be a changed person. And it's probably not going to work out like you thought it might anyway, which is fine. Who cares? That's okay. You did a thing versus laying on your couch and complaining and doom scrolling, as they say.
Tommy, before you keep going, one thing that I want to say was formative in my life, which is not a story that I've really ever told anyone. I was just randomly in a school. My mom used to be a school teacher in the public school system. And I saw in an abandoned classroom that nobody was using, there was a sign on the door that said, "Today is," and I was like, well, why would they print a sign? It says, "Today is what?" It changes. And the rest of the sign said, "Today is the first day of the rest of your life."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, that probably more than anything else that surprised me, really, I was shook. I mean, it didn't really occur to me that I had the chance to do anything other than just what I was supposed to do, what other people were telling me to do. And knowing that I had not just the desire for autonomy, but also the chance to make today the start of something else always stuck with me. That day didn't change anything in my life, but it changed something in my brain.
Change something in your brain, rewiring every single moment. Literally, gang, you have the opportunity to pivot, to change, to do it. Forget about yesterday, right? It's in the past. I know that's easier said than done. I get stuck on yesterday a lot too.
Yesterday teaches us and gives us the tools, good and bad, to move forward. Everything that you've done wrong, every mistake you've made has made you the person you are today, right now. And you would not be the strong person, the capable, the educated, knowledgeable person you are today if you hadn't made those mistakes in the past.
We can't
That's the
live
purpose
there.
of our past.
But we can't live there either. That's the thing. I think too many of us get stuck there. That's already done. I agree with you. It's the experience. It's what we've been through. It's how we learn and it's how we evolve. However, many of us get caught staying there and worrying about the decisions we made and stuff where I can't go back. Yesterday is done. I got to move on to that was Thursday. Today's Friday. We got to go forward. So I'm with you on that. It's built us who we are. But too many of us live in the past and stay there. And that's a killer for me. So we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. The show is Philanthropy and Focus. I don't know, bro. I didn't know we were going to get this deep in the show today, but we are there. Leon Feingold, Tommy D. We'll be right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Through the static, gang, join me in the attic. But don't literally. It's a small little room on the top of my house. That's like a thing. Like join me, meaning plug into the show. But you guys all understood that. Every single Friday morning, we're going to be doing this. I mean, 4 years in a row. Every Friday, I'm up here. And the thing about Fridays is every single week we have one, which means every single week we have an episode. So I'll just keep doing this because I think it's important. It's my journey. It's my mission to help nonprofits tell the story and amplify their message. Leon Feingold, House of Good Deeds. We're chopping it up, man. We're getting into it. I got to tell you, I cut my hair off. It's like all gone, you know, not really all gone, but I had long hair like you up until earlier in beginning of 24. I cut it all off. But I think I'm going to grow it back. But there's this little patch in the front where it's disappearing. So I don't know if I'm going to grow it long and then just brush it all forward. Might be my next move.
Maybe you just go with a mohawk.
I did. Let me tell you, bro. I did bring back like the Caesar haircut. And my one friend in the neighborhood, everybody used to have the Caesar back in like maybe 20, 25 years ago. You brush your hair forward and have like maybe like a little swoop, like a little look like Julius Caesar. And my buddy in the neighborhood called me out because I give him a hard time because he's a little bald in the back. So he goes, dude, I know what you're doing. He goes, now all these people who listen to my show are going to know my trick. I would brush it forward so they couldn't see this patch that was sort of disappearing a little bit. But your hair looks great. That's a long round
backwards, actually. My hair has always been short like yours. This is my pandemic look. My barber closed during the pandemic, and I tried to let it go long, and I guess that's where it is now.
It looks great. That's when I started to grow it out too. Pandemic. I finally was like, I gotta go. You know what it was for me, man? Honestly, and gang, this could be for you too. It was I was making some transitions in business and ideas and things I was working on. I said, you know what? You ever seen like I know you have because we all have. They show like the before and after picture where somebody loses a bunch of weight when they were on some diet or whatever, and all of a sudden they got a new hairstyle or they got if it's a man, a new beard style or whatever. And they made a change. I was going through some changes. Changes. I was going through some changes, and I was just like sometimes I just start singing. That's part of the show. And I decided I was going to cut the hair, but it might be coming back. We might make one more run at the long hair again. So let's get into this, man. You've done a lot of different things. Why don't we start to talk about the organization, about the House of Good Deeds, about the story? Please, you take it away. I mean, it's your story. I'll pepper in a question or two, but I'd like you to kind of start us off with there if you could.
Sure. So it's like most superhero origin stories, this one's not all peaches and cream. So the House of Good Deeds is amazing at this point, but when 15 years ago, I had no idea this is what I'd be doing with my life. I didn't know I'd be so passionate about altruism. I didn't know that I'd start this. I was just a guy traveling. When I was in China, I was part of something called couch surfing. I'm not sure if you or your gang are familiar with it. Basically, you travel the world and you stay for free on people's couches. I live in the middle of Manhattan, so of course, I offer my sofa to whoever comes to town and wants a place. And then when I was traveling with one of my teammates, actually, he and I wanted to go through Asia, so we spent a month and a half traveling through Thailand, China, Japan, Hong Kong. I would have gone to Macau, but I lost my passport in the taxi, and he went on a trip and I didn't. Oops. Anyway, so while I was there, I stayed one night at this girl's house named Yuan in Shanghai, and she was amazing. She was super cute. We got along super well. And this is the kind of girl that was like, I would absolutely date this woman, but I mean, she lives in China. I didn't even know if I'm ever going to see her again. And then she mentioned while I was there, oh, by the way, the reason I agreed to host you is because I'm coming to New York for a few weeks. Would you be willing to host me? I said, absolutely.
That's cool.
So this is back in 2012. And she came for New Year's. We got under the ball and had like a big party, whatever. It was great. She stayed with me 3.5 weeks. We totally clicked, but then she left. We didn't see each other for 2.5 years. And then in 2015, she said, hey, if you remember me, she wrote me on Facebook. I'm coming back to the States, but this time I'm going to go to the West Coast. I'm flying into San Francisco at the end of August. I said, well, at the end of August, I go to Burning Man every year. I'm actually always talking about it because I co-founded a camp called New York Dangerous, which is one of the bigger camps headquartered in New York that goes to Burning Man. And I said, well, listen, if you fly into Reno instead of San Francisco, I will take you to Burning Man. I'll get you a ticket. I'll get you a tent. I'll set everything up. Let's just reconnect there. So we did, and it was amazing. And for the next 1.5 years, we were inseparable. She moved to New York. She became my girlfriend. We were really excited. And then at the end of September 2016, I proposed. She said yes, and we posted on Facebook, and she said yes with the ring and 1,500 likes and everything.
Yeah.
And then the next day, she hadn't been feeling well. The next day, we took her to the hospital. And it turns out she had 70 tumors all over her body, and we had no idea. And they were like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. You have metastatic cancer. It's stage 4. All we can offer you is palliative care. Basically, you're going to die. We can give you drugs. As you can imagine, that's the biggest 180 you could possibly have. And we were overwhelmed. And I posted on Facebook saying, hey, I know you just, one post. I know you just supported us, but this is what's happening now. Who can help? And the post went viral. People came from all over the world. People we knew, people we didn't know. I have no idea how the people found us. They raised tens of thousands of dollars for medical care because she was a Chinese national. She didn't have any insurance. Somebody that I had met years ago was like, hey, I'm a wedding planner now. I can put a wedding together for you guys so she can get on your insurance. So she put a gorgeous, huge wedding, hundreds of people attending, hundreds more watching online in less than 7 days. Somebody knew Chuck Schumer's office. Somebody had volunteered or interned at Chuck Schumer's office, the politician, and he got her family flown here from rural China in 4 days in time for the wedding. Somebody knew the head of Memorial Sloan Kettering, and they introduced us so that she could be transferred from Bellevue, which had said there's no chance for treatment, to MSK, one of the top cancer treatment centers. And they gave her chemo, which extended her life and improved her situation drastically. Like all these amazing things happened, not because of, divine intervention or, a greater plan, but just because people heard our story and cared enough to want to make a difference. So at our wedding, we exchanged vows that we wrote each other. And we also vowed to our guests that we would find a way to pay it forward. So a couple months later, we incorporated the House of Good Deeds. And since then, every month we've done community events, just things to teach people how easy and important it is to make a difference. That's the origin story.
Wow. Thank you for your candor. Thank you for sharing the story. And your wife lost her life. She lost her battle at one point to cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, only about 5 months after she was diagnosed. In fact, our first public-facing event was giving away everything she owned in accordance with her wishes. And that was our first, what we call now, a good deeds giveaway. People came and I think it was the it was really moving. And a lot of people are like, hey, I want to be involved. What can I do to help? I can donate clothes. I can donate housewares. Like what can we do to keep this going? So a few months later, we did it again. We were just collecting stuff. People were storing stuff in their basements, their attics, who don't have radio stations in them. Just anything they could do to help us. So we started doing this 4 times a year. We started using public spaces, churches, Anita's Way. Like people were just giving us spaces. We were just coordinating so many things just to collect stuff and give it away for free. So both you, her name is Yuan. Both Yuan and I were very into the Burning Man community, and one of the core elements of Burning Man is what's called the 10 principles. I have a feeling that you would probably appreciate them. They're things like radical inclusion, gifting, decommodification, things like that kind of are the guideline for how to burn. So when we started the House of Good Deeds, we created our own 10 principles that are very obviously cribbed off of the Burning Man 10 principles. But it's sort of our way of translating the spirit of the magic that happens at Burning Man, bringing it to New York and hopefully, beyond just New York. But as of right now, we're only in New York. So the whole idea of creating something amazing started with Yuan, and it was sort of an accident. Like we don't have any LLM or MBA people. We don't have any like career nonprofit professionals. Like we're just kind of feeling our way around like how to grow and how to do things. But we've sort of, I was going to say accidentally, but it wasn't accidentally. It's just people who really understand and care. We have become, as of 2024, New York City's largest resource rescue group who collects and distributes clothing. Everything is free. We don't charge donors. We don't charge recipients. All of our services, we do neighborhood cleanups now. We do blood drives. We offer free classes. So we're sort of like a hybrid between like a Buy Nothing group and New York Cares and City Harvest. As of 2024, we collected and distributed for free well over 100,000 pounds of resources that would have otherwise gone into the trash.
Wow.
So that's over 4 tons a month.
4 tons a month. Okay. There's so much here. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, though, 100,000 pounds, so 4 tons a month, that, first of all, are resources, things that of value, stores of value that people can use that are sitting in some storage facility, somebody's basement. I like the cute joke about the attic, the whole thing, like all these spaces where people keep items that have utility, but are not being utilized, right? The thing that gets me from a business perspective, I get a kick out of the fact that these storage facilities just continue to get larger and more of them and stuff like that. And George Carlin, the comedian, has a great bit about stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with that bit, but gang, if you don't know the George Carlin bit about stuff, I'm not going to do it. Not because I'm not going to do it justice, but it's a cute little skit. But we glom and get all this stuff, and we get so much things, right? And then we don't use most of them, and those things have utility. So I love the fact that repurposing, I guess, is part of what it is, and getting it in the hands of people who can utilize these things. We're going to get into what exactly some of that stuff is, clothing, and maybe it's food and housewares and different things. We're going to talk about that when we come back. I appreciate candor. My condolences on the loss of your own Yuan. I mean,
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And that's just the legacy of creation that you have here. I mean, dude, I got like 1,000 questions about Burning Man. You told me about Burning Love. That was something you were going to, I think it was down in Florida or something like that when we spoke a couple weeks ago. We're never going to get to everything I wanted to talk to you about today, but that just means I'm doing 5,000 episodes, brother. We're going to have and plus you're a Long Island guy. You came from Long Island, right? I do a show called Long Island Changemakers. Although you're in New York City, it's my show. I can do whatever I want. I could probably sneak you into that show as well, talk about change makers and all the cool stuff. Don't forget, gang, the new program, hashtag Ending the Stigma Together. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears peeled or your eyes peeled. Peel everything. Peel an onion if you want to. I don't care. But pay attention to what we're doing, because we must end the stigma around serious mental illness, that conversation as it relates to mental health in general. Little plug. Look, I'm pitching my own stuff. that's an important show. 10 episodes in the can. They'll start being released next week. But what I was going to say was there's a lot of conversation I want to have with you, Leon. And today, I believe, is just scratching the surface, as I like to say. So we're going to take a quick break. We come back. I want to talk more about the organization, 4 tons of things being reused and recycled, so to speak, through this organization, the House of Good Deeds. I'm Tommy D. That's Leon Feingold. We're taking a break. Right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
All right, gang. Cut through the static, push it away, move the static out of the way, right? houseofgooddeeds.org, houseofgooddeeds.org. I'm actually sharing, gang, so if you're watching this somewhere, I'm going to keep this up for a second. There's a quote on your website, right? Right under the tab of what is altruism. And here's the mission. The House of Good Deeds is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to building community, leading by example, and improving the world through altruism, one good deed at a time. Everyone, everywhere, every day. I'm struck and taken by this photo that's on the website, which has a man who, from the looks of it, is obviously someone who lives on the street. He's got a coffee cup in his hand, so I assume he's somebody who's asking for change. And then there's a quote that's from Martin Luther King Jr. that says, "Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness." Martin Luther King Jr. Can we start right there, Leon? Let's just go there. I mean, in New York City, right? We see tragically. I have a big problem understanding how anyone on this planet, how we can operate as a society where anyone is homeless, where anyone is food insecure. I can't really grasp it, and not to sound like I'm just like I don't get it. No, but I don't get it. Like I don't understand how as a society we can allow such things. This picture here with the hands and the triangle around the man. What does that mean? What does that visual mean on your website?
I think I wanted people to think about exactly what you brought up, that we live in a society that doesn't protect our weakest people, especially now. And I think that's partly a capitalistic society. We're raised to believe, true or otherwise, that we are in charge of our own destiny. And if we're doing well, then it's our hard work and dedication that has got us there and keeps us there. And anyone who's less than, anyone who's on the street, anyone who doesn't have what we have, anyone who lacks our privilege, is somehow there out of their own responsibility. They made the choices. They got hooked on drugs. They lost their job. They made a bad investment. They don't have the personality that would allow them to get a new job or a new place to live. They're mentally ill. Like they have their own problems. And it's easy to assume there's both that they deserve to be there, just as we deserve to be where we are if we are not there. I mean, there's a lot of things that a capitalistic society is good for. That's not one of them. And I think, I mean, again, there's a million conversations we could have, but yeah, I think that imagery is trying to teach people that people as erudite as Martin Luther King acknowledge and recognize the inequality in society, not just along racial lines, but on every line, whether, it's people acknowledging privilege, whether it's people creating opportunities for people without it to excel or to succeed, whether it's people trying to make a difference. I think we wanted to point out that altruism is something that anyone can do. You don't have to have the reach of a politician or the wealth of a Musk. Like, everyone can do something. And I also want to point out one other thing while I'm at it. The House of Good Deeds we don't see ourselves as a charity. Like, traditional charity trickles down from those who have to those who don't. We see altruism as a multi-directional, omnidirectional community. It's sustainability. Everyone has something to offer. The person with no money has time. The person with no time has energy. The person with no energy has knowledge. The person with no knowledge has a long way to go. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But the point is, when we have our events, people who come to take things, we ask them, hey, can you pay it forward? Would you like to donate? Would you like to give us something? Would you like to volunteer your time? Can you do something in your own neighborhood? Can you pick up a piece of trash and put it in the rubbish bin? Can you give somebody a genuine compliment on a choice they've made? Like, it's not people who have giving to people who don't. It's inviting people to become altruists. And that's important to us.
Inviting people to become altruists. Sam Leibowitz, thank you for making this introduction, bro. Timing is everything in life, Leon, and we're meeting at probably the right time, right? This is when Sam was supposed to connect us. How long do you know Sam? Is this a new relationship, or you guys go back?
Relatively new. He and I clicked right away. He's an educational, interesting person who values intelligence and conversation, and he and I clicked pretty well. We met at a social professional networking event. I'm sort of like the one non-professional in the group. I guess professional altruism doesn't come with the same paycheck. Everyone else in the group is like, how can we get more clients? And I'm just like, how can we tell people about altruism? And he mentioned your show, and he said, you have to meet Tommy. And it looks like he knew what he was talking about.
I think he was right on with that. I'm jazzed. Thank you, Sam. I'll text you later on. Professional altruism doesn't pay well. You know what? Maybe it doesn't pay well from the perspective of every 15th and 30th, a check comes to your house for your efforts. But I would venture a guess that your soul and your good vibes and the way you feel, and I know this from being a guy who goes out and volunteers a bit. And gang, I'm going to let you all in on a little bit of a secret. So hurry up, move in close. Tommy D is going to tell you a secret. Volunteerism is as much for yourself as it is for the other people, gang, because it makes you feel good in your soul. And I don't mean the one where you just, and you can listen, all of our nonprofit friends like big checks. So if that's your thing and you can write big checks and you don't want to show up and roll up your sleeves, that's cool, man. We'll take the big checks, right? But what makes people feel good is getting your hands in there, rolling up your sleeves, helping out, making an impact. That volunteerism is incredible. My argument there then, sir, is that I think you're getting paid very well from the good vibes and the love and that. That being said, you are running an organization that needs to be sustainable, and that sustainability was one of the pieces I saw on your website, so maybe we'll get into that as well. But I love that you and Sam met through networking, because I am the nonprofit sector connector, and I know a bit about this networking thing people are talking about. And it has nothing to do with IT, gang. That's not what we're talking about. It's relationships, it's connections, it's bringing value to one another. Everyone has something to offer. I want to comment on that before we move on. Time, treasure, talent. Time, treasure, talent. We talk about that a lot in the world. Let's go to treasure. Every one I meet who runs or is in a nonprofit organization is always talking about, we need treasure. There's full development teams that do that and drive revenue, and that's important, right? But if you can't write big checks, there's plenty of organizations that I hear, we have a donor that every year on their birthday sends us a check for $10, and those are crucial, and people appreciate that. And if that's what you can do, that's great. But you might have talent. You might know how to build a fence, right? You might be a CPA or an accountant. You might any array of your talents can be valued by a nonprofit. Time, treasure, and talent. And then the time is, man, you want to just volunteer, if you want to get involved and do different things. So anything you want to just say about that, Leon, before we take another quick break?
No, I think everyone has something to offer. Like I said, even if you don't think you have any of those things, you can offer your knowledge. You can offer your treasure is all the mistakes you made and how miserable you are now. You can help other people not make those mistakes. You can fix your sins by fixing somebody else's life and keeping them away from that. So, yeah, I think everyone has something to offer, and I'm really glad that people are kind of really finding something personal in volunteerism, whether it's with the House of Good Deeds or otherwise. It really, I think if everyone becomes an altruist, if everyone does something to improve the world, we all win. It's an amazing feeling. And the other thing I will say is if somebody could tell my landlord this too, that would be appreciated because, no matter how many good deeds I do, he still wants money. I don't get it.
You ever heard of a guy called Mr. Cooper?
Not the guy from Sesame Street.
No. So, I think that was Mr. Hooper.
Yeah, you're right.
Mr. Why I know that 47, and I still remember Mr. Hooper's name. Mr. Cooper is the mortgage bank that holds my mortgage. So I guess it used to be a big name for a company, but they rebranded as Mr. Cooper to be cute, so it doesn't feel so bad when you write him a check each month, right? No matter how much hugs I get, or how many hugs I get, or how much love I get, or how many people say Tommy D is great, that guy still wants his do re mi every single month. So I get what you're saying, bro. So we do live in a capitalist society, but you can be an altruist inside of that, and that's kind of the code I'm trying to crack too. So let me take a quick break. We come back. I want to understand what an event looks like, what's upcoming for the organization, how soon I can come to an event and plug in and be part of what you're doing, because I want to get out there and do something with you guys like as soon as possible. And then where we might be able to help through some relationships. How's that sound?
Sooner than you think.
All right. I love it. We'll be right back. Leon, Tommy D, Philanthropy in Focus.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Back through the static, baby. Listen, I'm showing some pictures. I'm sorry, gang, I'm going through a cold here. So I'm showing some pictures on the website, and I'm getting like flashbacks, man. I have not had a COVID mask on in a bunch of years at this point, and I'm like, oh my God, like not that that's something we can ever forget, but it's sort of has left my mind, and I'm going, oh shoot, kind of forgot about that a little bit, man. So some of the photos, there's a picture, happy anniversary, House of Good Deeds, and you all have some masks on. That's just what a trip, man, that was.
Yeah, you know what? Two reasons we have that. One is because that's when we had our biggest period of growth was during the COVID pandemic. Every other organization in New York was shutting down, slowing down. They stopped doing collections. They stopped doing anything. They were just terrified. They didn't do anything. Literally the only organization that did rescue that grew, that stayed open and didn't change was the House of Good Deeds. We had we now have 4 vehicles. We had 2 vehicles at the time. We drove around. We rescued from all the restaurants and the stores that were closing down, all that food which was going to waste. Because up until like 2020, we were mostly clothing, housewares, shoes, like physical things. We started getting calls from stores and restaurants and bakeries and things that had all this stuff, the eggs and the milk that nobody was going to. So we rescued them, brought them all to shelters. We developed some of our partnerships with Bowery Mission and with Vision Urbana and with just so many soup kitchens and food pantries around New York City, because we were the only ones who had vehicles and were actually out there doing this stuff during the pandemic. That's one of the reasons. And the other reason is that we haven't had an intern. We actually just got 3 new interns, one of whom's going to be doing some social media on our website. So we haven't actually updated the pictures in a couple of years. So those are 2 reasons why we have the COVID period pictures up there. It was a really important period of growth, and we haven't gotten around to changing it.
God, I just love how real you are, man. Yeah. Here's the other reason. We just haven't gotten around to changing it yet, but it's a good story. So let's get into it, because let's talk about the rescue, because we got about 6-7 minutes to get all the stuff I want to get in, which is not possible, but that just means you have to come back and we'll do some other stuff together. Rescuing things each month, like what does an event look like? You know, you go out and get the stuff and then present it for folks. What's that like?
As I mentioned, now we have 4 vehicles. We have drivers in Bronx with their own vehicles, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Jersey. So it's like a whole New York area thing now. Long Island, we have Long Island driver, Long Island volunteer and donation coordinator. Basically, we collect anything from like a single bag of like a single pair of jeans once to emptying entire inventories of stores. Like we will collect anything for free, bring it to we have a new headquarters in Alphabet City on Avenue D, which we just signed a 5-year lease on, which we're really excited about. Speaking of landlords, someone's got to pay the $3,000 a month. So we're still working on that. But in the meantime, we have the space. So now we used to do community events at wherever people would give us space, at a church or a gym or wherever. Now we have this new headquarters in Alphabet City. So once a month we have it actually happens to be this weekend coming up. Sunday, March 9th, it's actually Daylight Savings Day. So it's a Daylight Savings Day Good Deeds giveaway. We're expecting between 300 and 400 people, which is our normal. They come by, we have groups of 20 that go inside. We have volunteers ringing the outside with tables full of stuff. It's like a massive garage sale.
Wow.
People come in, they take whatever they want. They fill their bags, they fill their arms, they fill their shopping carts. 12 minutes later, they go out. Volunteers replenish from our stock. Our stock never ends.
Wow.
We have literal tons of clothing, shoes, houseware. We're sorting it all today and tomorrow in preparation for Sunday. And we just do this again and again and again and again, because there's so much waste in New York and there's so much need in New York. And the House of Good Deeds is one of the best at actually bridging that gap. And to be honest, like the thing that I really wanted to share that I think tells the story of the House of Good Deeds better than just the actual things we do is the difference we're making. One random story, if I may. One of my favorite volunteers is somebody who lives in the NYCHA complex where we're located. She's a sweetheart. She saw me unloading one day and she saw like a big pillow that I was taking out. And she's like, "I don't have a boyfriend. Can I have that pillow?" I said, "Yeah, you can." And I gave it to her and we just started talking, and she's a grandma. She lives in the neighborhood. And she's like, "I see you unloading stuff and I just want to come over and say hi." So I'm glad she did. I said, "Well, would you like to volunteer with us?" She said, "Well, what is it like?" Maybe. I said, "Listen, take the pillow, whatever, obviously, but pay it forward by coming to volunteer with us." That woman has become one of my most favorite volunteers. She's there all the time. She runs our kitchen. She does everything for us. She's such a sweetheart. And I have to honestly tell you, she told us that we saved her life. She was depressed. She had no purpose in her life. She had problems in her own life. And she tells us every time we see her, "You and the House of Good Deeds saved my life." And she's become one of our best volunteers. And she's one story out of hundreds that I could share, but I wanted to share that.
I know, and I'm appreciative that you share that. And you're saving lives. Unbelievable. Maybe it's not. I hate that word unbelievable. I say it a lot. I want to stop saying it because it is believable, because you're doing it. That woman's life has changed, and how many more lives are changed because she's volunteering with you? How many more relationships and connections are made because of that? Gang, volunteering is where it's at, man. It's where the cool kids are, man. Those are the people who are changing the world. It's the nonprofit sector who's changing the world. Again, I'm telling you this 200 Fridays in a row, 201. I'm telling you, it's so important. One day I wasn't feeling real good. I was feeling down myself, dealing with my own stuff, Leon. And I didn't have the time to go volunteer at this place called Nosh. Nosh Delivers, which is a pantry here where I live on Long Island. but I had the time to go buy bagels and coffee and drop it off for the volunteers there. And I'm not telling you guys that because I'm so great. I'm pretty good, but I'm not telling you that because of that, because I'm telling you, I wanted to just go appreciate the volunteers. And I said, gang, I can't hang out today, but I want to leave this and just say thank you because I don't think volunteers get thanked enough for what they do. So I just say there's ways you can make an impact and give back, and just, you know, sometimes it's as simple as going and dropping $30 at Dunkin' Donuts. For shout out to Dunkin' Donuts, not a sponsor, but Tommy D runs on Dunkin'. But you know, it's like you can just make an impact and change people's lives every day by making a simple decision, right? It's a decision, Leon.
Well, we partner with so many different organizations now. Like it's everyone has the power to make a difference, but once you build relationships, once you've been doing this for a long time, you realize how many opportunities there are. Like I said, there's so much waste.
Yeah.
We collect from Billy's Bakery, Levain Bakery, like some of the best bakeries and grocery stores. GoPuff is one of our biggest donors. The Javits Center is one of our biggest donors. All the stuff that they create, the amazing food, the amazing snacks, the amazing pastries, we collect it and we give it away for free to people that need it. And it's such an amazing system, and we're getting better and better at it. We now run our own food pantry.
Yeah.
Every Monday, the House of Good Deeds gives away free food, and we're self-funded. Like, we're only funded completely by donations from people who, you know, who learn about us and want to give us money. It could be, we've received donations of $1 from people standing online. We've received donations from, there's a family that volunteered. Their kid had to, this is only a couple of months ago, their son had to do some kind of public service thing for work, for school, I apologize, 14 years old. And they randomly found us, and the kid was sullen. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. And our director of donations, Patricia, set him straight, like, listen, if you're going to be here, you're going to work your ass off, and you're going to, you know, you're going to make a difference in people's lives. Not only did that kid decide that at the end of the day, he loved it, he wanted to come back with friends, and his parents, his mom, who was there as an amazing volunteer, she's like, I had no idea this place existed. They made a very generous donation that helped us take care of our landlord for a little bit. So this is how we make things happen. Everyone gives what they can. If they have money, they give money. If they have time, they give time. Whatever their treasure is, whatever they can do. House of Good Deeds just gives people an opportunity. Like I said, anyone could do anything, but the House of Good Deeds is a great opportunity to start, to find ways to be involved and to learn how to pay it forward. That's kind of the mission that we have, and that's the message I want to share.
Thank you so much. You have a great, excuse me, you have a great message, great mission. I'm excited to know you now. I will be plugging in and doing some stuff with you guys. Maybe we'll do like an on-site. I'll bring my photographer down. We do some cool stuff like that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we're New York City's best kept secret. We don't have the reach that that anyone does. Like, we need people to know who we are and to want to support us. Like, I don't like asking for things. I think people should do what they can. If they have the ability to do something, they have the responsibility to do something. But I've learned enough to know that I'm not above asking for help. So if you can help us with money or contacts or publicity, we'd love to hear more.
And the way you do that, gang, is you go to houseofgooddeeds.org, houseofgooddeeds.org. I want to make one quick point, and we're out of time, but one thing I want to say is, I'm thinking about how much you're doing for people, but what you're doing for the planet by reutilizing these products and the housewares and the clothing that would end up in a landfill, not to mention the food that would end up in a landfill that is good food, that healthy food that ends up in a landfill and then just rots away and screws up this planet. A whole nother episode we could talk about that from what you're doing. Leon, I think we're going to be good buddies. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for what you're doing in the world. Thanks to your whole team. Shout out to all your volunteers. Anything you got to say before we go?
Love you all. Thanks, Tommy.
Right on. Make it a great day, gang. I'll be right back here. I'll wait for you all. I'll be here next Friday morning. I'll see you then. Make it a great day. Later, gang. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in